This is the Conscious Hour. Thanks for tuning in. Let me ask you a question. How many ceasefires have we had? I've lost track. How many times that they said, hey, Hamas said, hey, we have no problem. You leave us alone, we'll leave you alone, and we can live in peace. Not going to happen. Now, all of a sudden, Israel says, now, Hamas, you got to give us all your weapons. Let me ask you a question. Would you trust these robber barons or the gangster capitalists to go and invade foreign countries and kill everybody just to steal their resources? Would you give these people your guns? No. Every ceasefire Netanyahu broke. So there's no trust in any of this. But let's get into this conversation, Jeremy Scahill, and just listen closely, and you'll see the shapeshifters being exposed and how simple it is to get to one thing: peace. Except we'll never get there, because Netanyahu has a mission, because the Zionists have a mission that they have to complete, and they're hell-bent. They just want to get all these Palestinians. They're building little concentration camps for them right now. They want to put them in there, and they aren't even giving them enough food. Remember those 600 trucks a day that were supposed to be coming in how many years ago? They still aren't coming in. Yeah, imagine that, living like a Palestinian in Gaza where everything is destroyed. You don't have a toilet, you don't have running water, you have nothing. And you're an American and you support this? Really? And you're a Christian and you support this? So which one is it? You're a Zionist and you support this and you believe that we should go and invade foreign countries and steal their resources and kill off anybody that's in our way? Or do you believe in the teachings of Jesus? Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not judge, love thy neighbor as you love thyself. The Palestinians believe in that. They don't go out and attack everybody, just like Iran doesn't go out and attack everybody to steal their resources. Let's listen to this conversation.
Drafts. There's been this exchange of drafts on a framework that is supposedly aimed at like moving forward to the next phase. And one of the documents is Nikolai Mladenov, for all practical purposes, the head of the Board of Peace on these matters, his draft to the Palestinian side, and also the Palestinian draft. And if you were to sort of drill down and look at what is at the center of this, it's that Mladenov has framed the entire thing as though the October agreement wasn't signed, as though the Palestinians had made sweeping concessions and effectively surrendered, and that now Hamas is going back on it because they're not engaging in a public ritual to like hand over Kalashnikovs and to do it as a kind of surrender routine. And I feel like I'm losing my mind sometimes because I keep repeating this. Again, the Palestinian resistance took a position. This is very important for people to understand. When Hamas and Islamic Jihad and other factions that were engaged in the armed struggle against Israel post October 7th signed that agreement in October, what they said so clearly was, we do not represent the entirety of the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people believe in a democratic process. As the combatants in this war, as those who are holding captives, Israeli captives, we can negotiate on a limited number of issues, including the exchange of captives, the official declaration of the end of combat, the withdrawal of Israeli forces, and the providing or the resumption of deliveries of life essentials that are often referred to as humanitarian aid, although they're actually life essentials. They shouldn't be called aid. And that's it. And they said on all these other issues that Donald Trump talks about in his 20-point plan, we need to consult with all Palestinian factions and political parties. I want people to keep that in mind. So what Nikolai Mladenov and this so-called Board of Peace have done is they have said, you made all these agreements. You said you were going to disarm all Palestinians. You said you were going to allow the Israeli forces to remain occupying huge swaths of Gaza until you've essentially surrendered. In order for us to actually guarantee that any of these terms that were mentioned in October are going to be committed to, you now have to abide by this new set of demands. And it's, by acting as though it's like Hamas disarming, it sounds like it's like some foreign militia that has come into Gaza and it's like it's ISIS or something. We need to just get rid of these people and then everything is going to be okay. The reality is it's not even about Hamas. What Israel wants is for Palestinians not to be able to defend themselves against what Israel openly says it's going to do, which is to continue this war. So what I want to ask you, Diana, is how, in your assessment, how are the Palestinians who are negotiating this navigating this situation? Because my understanding from speaking to them is that they've put about as flexible of a plan on the table as they could. They look at the Northern Ireland process, for instance. They have talked about submitting to one rule in terms of one law in Gaza, that they would abide by agreements that no weapons can be on the street that are not authorized by this technocratic committee empowered by the board, that they're willing to store their weapons under international monitoring, but that they won't hand their weapons over to the Israelis or any other foreigners. They're essentially saying, we will play ball with all of this, but we know that the Israelis will attack us again, and the Palestinians, like every other people in the world, have a right to defend themselves. So how do they navigate this when you also have Netanyahu and others implying that they're going to just come into Gaza again in a much larger scale way?
This is the problem, Jeremy, is that it's so flawed from the beginning. Look, when even in the agreement itself is flawed because they're ignoring the context of occupation, of military occupation, and when there's military occupation, there's going to be resistance. That's just the way that nature is. It's the way that human nature is. With military occupation, there's going to be resistance. And it's also ignoring the ruling of the International Court of Justice, which also says that Israel's occupation is illegal. And it also says that Israel doesn't have a right to claim self-defense when it's continuing a military occupation. The other problem, of course, is that Palestinians are being asked to negotiate an end to their genocide, which, again, we've never seen happen in history. So the whole thing has been flawed from the very beginning. And given that it was flawed from the very beginning, and given that everybody wanted to see some type of an agreement come and take shape back in October, I would have expected that one, because they kept saying this is all about the Israeli captives, I would have expected that instead they would be pushing forward to make sure that Palestinians live, rather than pushing to make sure that Palestinians are under the thumb of the very entity that has committed genocide against them, which is Israel. So what they've now done is they've turned everything on its head. So how do these negotiators navigate it? I don't know how they're going to do it. Because without that sustained international effort to put pressure to end Israel's attacks, there's going to be no way. This is why genocide is labeled as one of these crimes above all crimes, where it doesn't just require one party to put pressure on the other. It requires the entire world to get involved and to put an end to genocide. And yet, because they're ignoring the context of genocide, because the world's ignoring the context of occupation, we're going to be in this for a very, very long time, until, I'm afraid, it's far too late. And I think we've already effectively reached that point. And what do I mean by reach that point? If you look around at Gaza and you see that more than 90% of Gaza has been flattened, that people are surviving on a thread in terms of healthcare, that their health is actually deteriorating at a very rapid pace, I'm not sure if there's a quick turnaround for that. And as you said, with this life-saving, this isn't humanitarian, life-saving food that's supposed to be coming in that Israel's blocking, unless there is sustained pressure on Israel to end that, to allow that food and those supplies to come in, I just don't know how much longer people are going to be able to sustain this. Plus, we're in election season now with the Israelis, each one of the Israeli candidates.
We'll stop it right there. The bottom line, they won't survive. They already killed 680,000 of them. They're going to kill off the rest of them. They want that property. Jared Kushner's got the money. They want to build a Viva Las Vegas, and you, the American taxpayer, paid for this. And your elected representative paid for this. And they got paid to stay in line. So it's time for the conscious revolution, folks. That's when we wake up and we throw these guys out in November. All of them. Men and women, Republican, Democrat, vote them out. They created this. That's if we have an economy and have an election. The way we're going, if this goes to a major war, the whole world economy is going to crash. Don't forget who started this thing, the gangster capitalists. This is the Conscious Hour, folks. Hit the like and share button. Speak out.